Hello, Fish Faithful. Welcome to Marlins Daily here on the Fan Arch Network. I am Kurt Semder, and I am promising you we are done talking about the Phillies series. That's right, I can't talk about it anymore. I asked the team to put it in their rearview mirror and look towards the future. Well, we are going to do the same right here and just take the opportunity here with the day off yesterday to kind of look ahead and see what the future may hold for this team, for this franchise, for this organization. Because right now, there's a lot of questions and there's a lot of things up in the air. There's even the question of will there be a baseball season next year, which at some point we're going to have to dive into and talk about the implications of that. But let's stick in the present a little bit and let's stick with the 2026 season and where things stand right now. And let's begin because, as we sit here right now on this Friday with the Marlins sitting at 500, coming off a 3-game losing streak against a team I won't mention again, the rest of the Marlins schedule is brutal. It is just brutal when you take a look at it. It's hard to believe at this point, but there are just 34 games left in the season for Miami. So just a little bit over a month of baseball left for the Marlins to make their case and make their push for a potential postseason berth. And when you look at the remaining 34 games, 21 of those games are against teams over 500. 21 out of 34. That is a tall order for any team, let alone a team that has struggled against good competition, especially here in the second half. And you look at these 21 games, and again, the schedule maker is doing the Marlins no favors whatsoever. There's a good split between home and away at least, but they got 6 games against the Cubs, who are just playing so well right now, probably the second or not, I would say probably third best team in the National League when you talk about Milwaukee and the Dodgers. The Braves got to be up there in the conversation too, but the Cubs are just playing at a level right now that if the Brewers weren't having the season they were having, the Cubs would have no problem taking that division. But in addition to that, they have an absolutely brutal stretch of the season beginning on September 11th all the way to the end of the season. I mean, take a listen to this. They're going to host the Dodgers. Then they go on a 9-game road trip that includes games in Arizona, in San Diego, and in Chicago against the Cubs. All of those teams competing for wild card spots, and Arizona and San Diego directly in front of the Marlins as they sit there right now. And then they end the season hosting those Atlanta Braves, who we mentioned could be very well done and have things clinched up, but very well could be still trying to hold on to an NL East title or be playing for playoff positioning. So, like I said, schedule makers did the Marlins no favors here. And, when you look at the schedule and you look at that, that stretch I'm talking about, we're not talking about it being that far away. And for this team, it was probably that 9-game road trip that will determine their season. You hope that the Marlins are still going to be right in the thick of things, or at least still in contention when that 9-game road trip comes around, hopefully within shouting distance of Arizona and San Diego. And you hope that they'll be playing a little bit better than they are right now. But you're asking an awful lot with the way that this schedule lines up. And we mentioned at the All-Star break that the second half schedule was going to be very difficult for the Marlins. Well, the second half of the second half schedule is the really rough part. And with certain teams we were hoping would kind of fall out of it, Arizona and San Diego have played better, where the Marlins have not. And they've put themselves in a better position, so those games become even more difficult. And whether or not the Marlins are going to be able to make the playoffs, they will have to earn it. They can't just beat up on the Nationals and the Mets and the Royals, who are on their schedule. That makes up the easy part, I guess you could say, of their schedule. They're going to have to earn it. And if they make the playoffs, they will have earned it, because, again, none of these teams are pushovers. And these teams in particular will present a big challenge for this team. going forward. And, you know, we talk about what this team has going on in regards to what's going to happen in the future, regardless of whether or not they make the playoffs this season or they don't make the playoffs this season. The real question is going to be what's going to lie ahead in 2027, if there even is a 2027. So for the purposes of what we're going to talk about here, let's assume that there's going to be a 2027 season, which is a big assumption right now because almost everybody you talk to believes that there's going to be a lockout, and at best we're going to get a shortened season. But you look at this team and you look at who they have on the roster right now, and I started to think about and wonder, you know, who makes up the core of this team going forward? Who makes up the core of the 2027 team next year? And I took a look at the roster, and basically what I came up with right now anyway is the core of this team right now comes down to I would build around 8 players. I've got 8 players I would build around, and that core can expand based off of how the rest of the season goes, and we'll talk about that in a minute. From a pitching standpoint, I think you build your starting rotation around Sandy Alcantara, who I believe will be back with this team next year. The team has made it seemingly clear they're going to pick up his option, or at the very worst, try to renegotiate his contract in a way so that he will be back here. Yuri Perez, who has been taking a big step forward this season, he should be part of this team's core going forward. And Max Meyer, I think you have to include him too. He was excellent before the injury. You hope that they're going to see him again this season and he'll be able to come back and help this team through that tough stretch we just talked about. But I think he is a piece that this team should be building around as well. In the bullpen, look, bullpen arms differ from year to year. You know, guys have big seasons and then disappear, or have rough years and then rebound. I think in this bullpen, the only arm I would say I would want to keep and build around based off of what he's been able to do this year is Michael Peterson. Yes, I know he, didn't do a whole lot up before this year, but he really, really seems to have found himself this year, and he really seems to have been consistent. And he's found something that I feel he can carry forward over the next couple of years. Whether he becomes a closer, whether he just becomes that dominant 8th inning arm, whatever that may be. He gets righties and lefties out equally. His splits are excellent. He's got a great fastball. I think this is a guy you can put in your bullpen and build around. And the rest of the guys are, hit or miss. Pete Fairbanks has been excellent, but I don't think this is a team that's going to bring him back at the money that they were talking about with him, that they signed him for, or have him going forward. So those are the 4 pitchers I would have to build around. Then on the offensive side of the things, who's on the list probably won't surprise you. Who isn't might. Otto Lopez, Xavier Edwards, that's automatic. I love them up the middle. And I think they've just had great seasons, and they are guys you can plug anywhere in your lineup. Have them bat leadoff, have them bat in the middle of your order. They can get it done in a variety of different ways. Kyle Stowers was having a rebound second half before he got hurt. I worry about the injuries, of course, but he was an all-star just a year ago. He is young. He plays the outfield. He plays first base. He can DH. I think he's a guy you can build around. Same goes for Griffin Conine, who has been a revelation this season, taking a huge step forward. His power numbers are excellent. On base is excellent. And he is needs to just cut down on those strikeouts and figure out a way to be effective against left-handed pitching. And you've got yourself another all-star there, I believe. Those are the 4 bats I would build around. And you may be sitting there thinking, well, Kurt, you didn't mention quite a few guys who maybe should be part of this team's future. And I agree that there are some guys who should be part of this team's future. I'm just not quite sure they're part of what you would consider this team's core yet. I do think there are a couple of guys, though, who with a big last month of the season can move into that category. Behind the plate, Joe Mack can be this team's catcher of the future if he can just continue to improve offensively and continue to show that he has what it takes to stay at this level and to be a force in the lineup. I like what I've seen from him so far, and I think he's going to have a big last month, and I would think by the end of the season I'll probably add him to the core list. Agustin Ramirez. Agustin Ramirez has... You want him to be good. He's got a great swing. He looks like a guy who can give you 25 home runs a season without a problem. He frustrates you sometimes because he just doesn't seem to get it done or does some stupid things at the plate sometimes. But he is a guy who can be a part of this team's future going forward. And he's got this last month of the season to show them why he should be. Javier Sanoja has been great, and he probably is a name who you think probably should be in that first core list. He's played third base most of the way this season. He plays a lot of different positions. It's just a small sample size for me. And I just want to see him keep it going for the rest of the season, and he would move up if he were to do that. Owen Casey needs to play a lot better. He struggled with a lot of injuries this season, so I'm not going to hold too much against him in that regard. But he needs to show you something here in the last month of the season to be considered a core member of this team going forward. Heriberto Hernandez leads the team in home runs. He's been a surprise for this team, and I know they've loved seeing what he's been able to do. But he still strikes out entirely too much. And his average is not great, and he struggles with the fastball. Yes, he hits breaking balls to the moon, but he struggles with that fastball sometimes. And again, not quite there just yet. And pitching-wise, Jansen Junk has been very good. But again, it's number 4 starter, number 5 starter on any other team. Not sure he's a guy you have to build your team around or have as part of your core going forward. He could get there, though, if he goes on a run and has a solid last month of the season. They've got about, like I just said, that's 6 guys I just mentioned who over the last 34 games can work their way into the Marlins' plans for next year. Because the Marlins have a lot of openings for next season, and they've got a lot of positions that they're going to be looking to fill, whether they have to fill that by acquiring free agents to get to a salary floor that gets implemented to avoid a lockout, or whether they just need to field the team. Think of it as a job interview for the next month for those 6 guys, and for many other guys on this team. But those are the guys I would look at as potentials to bring back for next season and to have as a part of this team going forward. So there is a positive future with this team, the way they built this team up, and they're not quite there yet, which frustrates fans, especially right now as they're sitting in the middle of a playoff race. But I think this core is a core you can build around. And if you sprinkle in some of those other pieces that I just mentioned now, and you make some additions next season, and we're going to talk about some of the potential free agents in some future shows, this team could make some noise going forward. And speaking about making noise going forward, this weekend, the Marlins get back to baseball. The Marlins get back to action, back here in Miami, starting tonight against the Nationals. And the good news is that in these 3 games, the matchups are very, very favorable for the Fish. Tonight, we've got a battle of the bullpens going on. Both teams planning to go with bullpen games. Ryan Gusto and Brad Lord are going to start for their respective teams. This is kind of why I was a little annoyed that the Marlins chose to go with a bullpen game just 2 games ago rather than Tyler Phillips pitching 5 innings or attempting to, because they were going to do a bullpen game here. But they did have the off day, so hopefully most of their guys are available and they're able to, find a way to score some runs against the Nationals bullpen that hasn't been all that great. Saturday, Yuri Perez takes his sterling mark over the last 2 months into a matchup against Jake Irvin, who's been 0-3 since coming off the injured list and hasn't pitched very well. And on Sunday, you got, like I mentioned, Jansen Junk taking on a pitcher in Jackson Kent, who is just making his 3rd start of the season and hasn't been very good in his first 2. So Nationals aren't putting a lot out there pitching-wise. Their offense has been able to get it done, so far. C.J. Abrams is still a threat and a big-time offensive power that you have to be mindful of when you take on the Nationals. And they have a couple of other guys that are forces to be reckoned with. But the Marlins should win 2 of 3, if not sweep the Nationals here this weekend. And I'm saying that coming off of what I just saw. Now, if they don't, if this weekend goes horribly wrong, then we'll be talking about something much different come Monday. But I have a feeling we're not going to. I have a feeling this team's going to step it up and respond well. They've played well at home most of this season, and that could just be what the doctor ordered for a team that's in desperate need of a confidence shift coming off of this week and coming off of the road trip they just had. So we hope things are going to go better. Let's see what they can do this weekend. And hopefully we're talking about something a lot happier, and we're having a good time on Monday chatting about a big series win over the Nationals and maybe some improvements in the standings, because the Marlins have some work to do, and they've got 34 games left to do it. We'll be with you every step of the way right here on the Fan Arch Network. Thanks for watching all this week on Marlins Daily. I will see you all on Monday.